Facebook folks in here. And spinning wheels. 1 and 2. Welcome in. It is Tuesday evening, September 6th, 6:05 p.m. Mountain Time, which means it's time for an episode of Building the Broncos. I am your host, Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, good friend and co-host for this show is dating on 6 years, 5 years. God, who knows? Too many good years.
Yep.
Some bad football years, but some good years hanging out together and talking ball with you guys. Carl Dumler. Carl, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm just I'm itching to get the football season kicked off here in 2 days. Getting to watch that Bills Rams game. That's a good one to start off the season. That might be a Super Bowl preview right there. And of course, Broncos Monday night. I am torn. I have a prior commitment during the Broncos game. I know, and I'm torn on whether I'm going to pull the old sick bug and and stay home. I'm not sure yet. Haven't made that decision yet, but no, it's like I said, football's back for the next however many months now. Every Sunday, going to have some kind of football game going on. Got your Saturday games going on, even if Iowa can't score a touchdown. And it's a great time of year, and I'm great. I'm just excited to be talking to all of you about the Broncos here today, and just talking about a team that should be winning.
Yeah, no, this Denver Broncos team is on the up and up. I'm really excited. I have tickets for that game as well. I guess some of us are going to meet in at lot 10. So if you're there, you hit me up on Twitter or something. I can point you in the right direction, but should be a lot of fun. And man, itching to go. And like you said, I'm excited for Thursday. I know that if Ernie's in here, I'm sorry, Ernie, talking about other teams being excited about them. But Rams, Bills, I mean, that's probably the best matchup we could possibly have to start the season, given the parameters of like the Super Bowl champion typically plays the season opener, right? I mean, like maybe Rams Chiefs would be up there as well, but Rams Bills should be a blast. And also a blast coming in here. Boom. There's a blast. Let's ride from Diamond Rattler. Good to see you. Dylan Von Arks, I know he's going to be at the game saying, "Sup Broncos country." Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way in and subscribe if you haven't already. I see the like and subscribe are all caps now. Good job, Dylan. We had Jake Kozad coming in saying, might have overdone it with the 5 captains, but no harm. Yeah, we'll be getting to the captains today and some other news as well. We have US Dave saying, I'm just glad we have product versus couch coach prognosticators. Yeah, absolutely. Although I'm not on a couch, but sometimes maybe could put me in that one for sure. We got Nick D announcing them. We'll get into it here in a second, who they are. We got Jamie in the house saying, howdy y'all. Good to see you. Nathan Noble asking about it. Talking about one of the captains here, Bradley Chubb, saying hopefully Chubb gets back on track and stays healthy. 100%. It's a big one this year. And we got Jamie coming inside. I tried to get Javonte. The dang thing didn't go through. In a fantasy draft.
Oh,
Carl, what is your take? I mean, I used to be like way into fantasy football, like reading all the content, listening to like 4 or 5 podcasts, and I don't have the time or desire anymore to do that as much. So now I'm in only like 2 leagues compared to like I used to be in like 7. We got Phil McLaughlin first coming in, saying hashtag let's ride. Thank you so much, Phil, for the stars and the support. We appreciate you. But real quick, fantasy question for you. So Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. It seems like Javonte Williams is like a back end of the first round pick and Melvin's going 5th, 6th round. What are your thoughts on that?
Personally, I would take Gordon. If I'm doing like fantasy football, this is just because I feel like it's still going to be him getting a lot of carries and especially red zone carries. That's one of his biggest strengths that he brings to the table. And I think he's a great fit with this outside zone scheme. And from everything that I was hearing from training camp, he was kind of the guy that was feeling a little bit more natural in that system. Javonte, I don't have any question. I think he'll get there. He'll be fine. But I could see early on them riding the hot hand of Gordon. Now, maybe when you're getting to playoff time for fantasy football, then you're going, that's when I want Javonte, and he's going to be getting that maybe 75% of the carries at that point. And so maybe you're kind of thinking that way. But again, I'm looking for value. I'm not sure Javonte is going to be the greatest value just because he's not going to be the bell cow back. Yeah. If I'm taking a running back in the first round, I want a guy that's going to be getting 65, 70% of the carries at least.
Yeah. And just looking over on Fantasy Pros, the average draft position for both these players, For standard scoring, Melvin Gordon's the 38th ranked running back, and for PPR, he's 37th. And Javonte Williams for standard running back scoring is 12th, and for PPR, he's 14th. I think it's going to be closer to a 50-50 split, and I think that Gordon as well is going to be used more in the pass game. So really, it seems like, I think Williams, if I had to get one at each, if I could get each of them at the same value, I would take Williams still because I think he's more of a home run hitter. I think you have more upside there, and you need to hit some home runs in the draft. But if you're getting Gordon, what is that? Average draft position 98 compared to 18. Second round to God, what is? You're talking like a 10-team standard league. The 9th, 10th round. God,
Yep.
Melvin just seems like such a better value. But what do I know? I'm not the fantasy football god here, like some folks can be. So that's just my take on it. Garth Knight coming in, MHH country. Let's ride. The wait for Monday Night Football is a killer, but the sands of time are getting there. One step at a time, one day at a time. Thank God we got some football that we can have some fun with in between now and then as well, and hopefully score some touchdowns because my God. Carl, you guys are all giving me a hard time about that Iowa game this last week, and that was rough to watch. They won. That's the bottom line, but my God. Gary Leeds Palmer coming in saying, Nick, Carl, and Scott, so happy you will be there repping us. Go Broncos, let's ride. Yeah, I wish everybody was coming out. It's just going to be me from MHH side of things, but definitely we'll be repping the Broncos as well, so it'll be a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I got Howie freaking Day. Also, sup, fellas? Good to see you, Howie. We appreciate you always coming in with the support. Every bit helps.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to be at the 49ers game.
Yes.
For the meet and greet. So if anybody's going to be around Denver for that home game, please come and say hi to me. I'd love to have a little Broncos conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gregory Vandelin coming in 1999. Thank you so much. Flashing orange on there, man. I'm hoping that all the Broncos fans that do make the trek out to Seattle are rocking orange because Carl drinking looks like an orange crush. Anybody who's coming out to that game, don't wear navy blue. The Seahawks are navy blue. What are you doing? Make sure you're rocking some orange out there. I'll be wearing an orange shirt for sure and a light blue hat, but that's because I just got a brand new hat with a D on it. That's looking good. We also got Nathan coming in saying, I've been arguing for Drew Lock in Seattle streams, causing chaos. I love it. And now that it's not us, what a troll. That's the thing is you want to be a covert troll. And if you're cheering for, one of those quarterbacks, either of them, having a hard stance on that, I definitely think you are doing the right kind of trolling there. We got Jason coming in saying, what's up with the right tackle spot? I'm feeling kind of worried going into Seattle week 1. Carl, have you heard anything about the right tackle position?
I haven't seen them announce an official starter, but it does sound like Billy Turner is going to be that guy for the Broncos. They seem comfortable with him not practicing a whole lot this offseason, but he knows the coaching staff. He knows the system. He's one of those guys you can't just kind of plug and play, and he's going to be ready week 1. So the big question is going to be, can he stay healthy? I have my doubts. He's had his struggles lately with injuries. And so Calvin Anderson better be ready as that backup, and kind of depending how further down the road they need to go. Fleming might have to get in there as well. That unit can get weak pretty quick, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Billy Turner will play, and luckily for the Broncos, the Seahawks don't have any established superstar pass rushers. Now, they did draft Boye Mafe early in the second round. I believe was actually the pick the Broncos sent to the Seahawks, the second round pick that they sent to the Seahawks. And he's a supremely talented edge rusher. Some people thought he was going to end up going in the back end of the first round, goes one of the first picks in the second round from the University of Minnesota, cut it up at the Senior Bowl. Really talented player. He could cause some problems for any of the Broncos offensive tackles, but especially if they're down to Calvin Anderson or an injured Billy Turner. But hopefully you can take some of those lumps and live with it because you're explosive and overcoming in other aspects of the field. But definitely concerning, and it's concerning long-term for the Broncos. We also got Jay Valentine, 48 more hours. Absolutely. Big E Bronco laughing in here. Paul's in the house. Always good to see Paul. Hope you're doing well, Paul. We appreciate you. And Travis coming in saying, good evening, Nick, Carl, and Scott, Broncos country. Carl, congrats on the 1 year with your boys. Yeah, Carl, congrats on that. And congratulations to last night's winners. Yeah, Carl, big time, man. That's really big time. Can you tell? I guess don't want to divulge too much personal information, but maybe we have some first-time listeners that are, what the heck are they talking about?
Yeah, so 1 year ago was the first time I got to meet my 2 boys. We adopted 2 boys from the Dominican Republic, and so that was our first time actually getting to meet them. We'd been there a couple days in the Dominican and then had to stay for 6 weeks or something like that. So I missed a lot of shows. Thankfully, I had a lot of people that helped out here at Mile High Huddle and stepped in for me and everything. But so yeah, this last year been craziest year of my life, but it's been incredible with the boys, getting them here, getting them adjusted to school and life, and well, it's been quite the ride. And now it's exciting this year, getting to enjoy the Broncos with my boys. My youngest son, I took him to training camp, and he goes, "When can we go again?" I love that. I was like, oh man, that was like 100-degree day, and he's loving being out there. So that's exciting. And watching the preseason with them, we ran routes. I was teaching him the route tree, and so they're going to be up there. He's got his wide receiver gloves. I played wide receiver, so I got to get my sons playing wide receiver as well. I need to get him a quarterback that can throw because I can't throw worth 2 licks. But
man.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, it's been a great adventure, and I appreciate all of you being a part of this and wishing me luck on everything we've gone through.
Yeah. 100%. We got Roy Osborne. Good evening. Nick, Carl, and Scott getting real close and exciting and getting excited to see what we really have. Absolutely. Ernie Mays talking about the guy. Hello, Nick and Carl. Broncos rule and the rest drool. They do drool, but I'm going to enjoy watching them drool because I am a football craved maniac. Jason saying, is this a fantasy football podcast? It's not, but if it pertains to the Broncos, we will still talk about it and cover it. So yeah. William coming in saying, hey, at least we got Monday night game now. Yeah. How do you feel about opening up on Monday night, Carl? Obviously, everybody. Broncos September 12th, the week 1 finale, heading to Seattle. Kickoffs at 5 o'clock. I'm going to have to leave work early to head down there. But are you excited about that? I mean, is this a good thing for Broncos country to have Monday Night Football week 1 at Seattle?
I mean, it's nice. It's a primetime game. I hate waiting for the Monday night game. Like, you get to watch all these other teams get their chance to show off for week 1. You got to be the last team to show off. Mm-hmm. And so I don't like that right off the bat. I wish they had a Sunday game because then, of course, you got to turn around. You got 1 day less already starting off the schedule. Yeah. And Broncos also, they have, I think, the second longest traveling of any team out there, only behind Seattle. And so, Broncos always seem to start on the road. I still don't get that either. Like, I'd love to see an early game or that first game right there in Denver, especially with Russell Wilson getting in front of that home crowd right off the bat. But I mean, I can't argue too much with it. Like I said, it's a primetime game, and it'll be a fun one to watch. And I'm glad that the Broncos are at least relative again, that they get these kind of primetime games.
Yeah. I would have been more nervous about it if Drew Lock was playing from the embarrassment factor. Now, I think the Broncos had a better chance to win if Drew Lock was playing, but to go Monday Night Football after you traded for Russell Wilson and then to show up and lay an egg and get beat by Drew Lock, I don't know if I could have handled it. I would have had to stick my hand or my head in the sand for a week. So that's my biggest concern, because showing up on Monday Night Football and laying an egg week 1. I mean, it's like, I talk so much crap. No, but that's the biggest thing. Obviously, who cares? It's the football game, and they're just talking fun. Anybody who takes that too seriously on our end probably needs to find some other hobbies too. But I'm a little bit nervous because of that Monday night game. No issue waiting for so long, though.
Right. Well, like I said, if it was Drew Lock, he has such high variance in his play. Mm-hmm. He could sneak one out. Like, he could just all of a sudden just like, I got to have this is my Super Bowl of the year. Got to go have a big game. Geno Smith, pretty much every game you're going to get the same. Yep. Kind of like Teddy Bridgewater last year. You knew what you were going to get from week in to week out. Yeah. And it was sometimes enough, sometimes not. So I can't see the Seahawks with him at quarterback scoring more than 20 points.
Yeah. I hope so. I'm always waiting and see. Kyle Olson coming in saying, let's ride Broncos country. Good to see you, Kyle. We also got another super chat coming in here from our superstars coming in from Phil McLaughlin saying, Nick, Iowa State over under 8 points. Take the under, hammer the under. I think Iowa's a 3.5 point favorite, which I don't know, man. It's that game was so rough against San Diego State. Now, San Diego State's a really good FCS team, but my God, I'm at my wit's end. Thank God the Broncos have a good offense now, or in theory should have a good offense, because I don't know if I could have taken another year of Iowa having a laughingstock offense with then going to the Broncos with just quarterback bile under center. Just sorry to totally disparage the guys we've had there, but thank God. Thank you, George Payton and Russell Wilson. Garth Knight coming in, $4.99 super. Again, coming in double dipping here, Garth. Thank you so much, saying congrats on the kids. How do y'all like the cuisine in the Dominican? That's that's for you, Carl. I have no idea.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. You get yourself some great ocean Mediterranean coming in. I mean, it was some good food. And the fruits, oh my gosh, that was probably the best part, the fresh fruits. Just outside of our resort that we stayed at, there was about 3 or 4 fruit stands. And so going and getting fresh mangoes, oh my gosh. I mean, you cut into that and the juices are flowing out. And pretty much everybody had to go into the ocean or something like that to get cleaned off, because you'd just be covered head to toe in mango juice and bananas. And we just devoured that stuff. So I miss that, because I can't get that stuff out here.
Yeah. God. I still think about, not the exact same, but the pineapple.
Sorry, Caribbean, not Mediterranean.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good Caribbean. I still think about the pineapples in Costa Rica. My God. Melt in your mouth, buttery good. So awesome. We have coming in here, Kenny saying Denver Broncos life behind enemy lines, born in Denver, but lives in Seattle. Well, hello. I'm in Seattle as well. Man, it was beautiful this weekend. Hope you got to get outside and enjoy it. And hopefully the Broncos can win so we can wear our Denver Broncos gear loud and proud. I got hassled a little bit today on my morning walk, saying he's washed, or somebody said something like that to me while I was listening to a podcast. I'm like, okay, we'll see. But thank you. Thanks so much. Enjoy Drew Lock. Tell Noah Fant I said hi. We got C Chang saying, are they going to have the game on Monday Night TV? Yeah, of course. It'll be on ESPN. Jamie says ABC as well. I don't even know if do they show Monday night on 2 different TVs? I don't know. I'll be at the games, but I know ESPN will be carrying it for sure. Greg Smith coming with the steak, eggs, drumstick, and beers, saying let's eat and let's ride. Absolutely, let's eat. I love it. That's Greg Smith whole brand here. We also got our guy Big E coming in saying you have a good looking crew there, Carl, and your family. Congratulations. Absolutely. I'll be nice to them until they are of age to be, when I'm scouting them, and then I'll just pick them apart. Can't be good enough on that one.
Not long enough arms.
No, God, the arm length, man. Leroy Williams coming in saying, what's up, guys? What do you know about Davion Nixon from Iowa that was released? Talking about long arms by the Panthers. And Kellerman said we should sign him now. We have 1 spot left. He is a defensive tackle. I know Davion Nixon. He originally committed to Iowa, didn't qualify grade-wise, went to Iowa Wesleyan, won a national championship there, was going to go back to Iowa, then Alabama tried to steal him from Iowa's recruit, still went to Iowa, and then had a pretty good year. I think it was a defensive player of the year at Iowa. Fell to the 5th round. Now, what about Davion Nixon? Why did he fall to the 5th round? Some talk about some immaturity going on there, intelligence, whatever you want to say. Just some questions there. One of the reasons he probably fell to the 5th round. From an on-the-field perspective, he's a versatile guy with very long arms and good athleticism. He's got some issues with leverage. Sometimes I think he's a little bit top-heavy, a little bit high-cut body type, and that can lead him to having some issues anchoring and against the run. But he's still relatively young, second-year player with a lot of upside. Now, the Broncos can't just sign him. He has to pass through waivers because he was on that rookie contract still. So if he gets to the 9th pick in the waiver process and the Broncos put a claim on him, they'll be awarded him. But there are 8 teams in front of the Broncos that maybe would be interested in the defensive tackle from the University of Iowa. The last bit is that he's coming off a pretty serious knee injury last year. So keeping an eye on it. As long as everything's cleared up there with the background and whatnot, he's extremely talented, and I think he'd probably offer something that you don't have right now on this defensive line, which is a guy with crazy length. I think he's got 35 and a quarter inch arm length or something at about 310 pounds. Pretty fun body type there. So we'll see how that plays out for him, but I would take him. Maybe I'm being biased to my Iowa fandom there. I have a hard time with that one sometimes.
All right, we got Dante McCluskey coming in with a super chat saying Mike Florio is a clown. That is all. Thank you for the super chat. And he's got some weird takes, and I know he's not always been the biggest Bronco fan. I remember at one point he said he'd never go on another Denver radio show because he had reported something about Peyton Manning trying to get out of the Broncos and stuff like that, and it got blown apart, and the radio people were calling him out on it, and he just, oh my gosh, he lost it. And so ever since then, he's kind of had a little bit of a negative attitude towards the Broncos.
A vendetta.
Yeah. And then you got Chris Sims working with him, and Chris Sims getting cut by the Broncos. So, as much as these guys like to think they're objective, there's still some
biases.
Yeah. I mean, David Carr, he can never pick against his brother. And yeah. I don't blame him. And it's your brother. So you got to show family love. But yeah, just always take those guys with a grain of salt, but we also have to remember we come into this with a little bit of homerism as well. So truth's probably somewhere in the middle. We were talking right before the show about power rankings and the Broncos having the highest variance. Some of them have them clear up at 8. I've seen them as high as 5 before, clear down to like 19. So it's nobody quite knows what the Broncos are going to be this year.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see, but I can guarantee the Broncos are going to be more fun this year. That's one thing we do know. Benjamin Flores coming in saying, "Evening, gentlemen. It's almost time. I think the last time we opened up at home was when we beat Seattle at home. I remember that. That would have been 2014, 2015, maybe. I definitely remember that game. Absolutely. I did. Oh, maybe it was. I don't know. Somebody in the chat can probably tell us with the Google machine in front of them. But yeah, no, it's been a bit. Broncos have a crazy good record in September as well. Those teams are not fully conditioned yet. Broncos have been practicing at altitude. I think weeks 1 through week 4, the Broncos have like an unbelievable home record. So a little bit too bad, but hey, that means pretty good things, hopefully, for that week 3 game when a lot of the Mile High Huddle folks will be there and you guys as well. Dean coming in saying, "I'll be at Lumen next Monday night." Absolutely. We'll see you there, Dean. I think I heard lot 10. I don't know. Hit me up on Twitter. I also saw Broncos fans in Seattle was on my Twitter as well. So make sure you follow them and we'll hang out. I think they're going to have a thing at one of the St. Andrew's bar the day before also. So we'll be fun. We also have Scott Kennedy. I've heard of that guy. Colts win 11-5. Be stunned if Seattle wins 11+ this year. What do you have Seattle's over under at, Carl? What do you think?
5 games.
5?
Yeah. I mean, you have maybe bottom 2 quarterback situation in football right now, on top of a roster that really is lacking a lot of talent. I mean, you look at their first pick for the last, I don't know, about 7 drafts. It has not been pretty. Almost every single player at best, there's about 2 players that you could maybe call average as a starter. The rest of them have either been cut, traded, or out of the league. So they're lacking the depth. They're lacking talent. And I'm interested to see how the Broncos are going to attack this because they aren't great against the run on defense, but they also don't have great cornerbacks. So are you going to win with the pass? Are you going to win with the run? I guess it just kind of depends on how Seattle wants to try to stop them. And you just say, okay, you want to stop the pass? We're going to do the run the entire game.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's something to watch out for. We have coming in here from, oh man, where'd it go? It's Divine Comedy coming in. Oh, KB82 first. Kenneth Booker coming in. Of all the AFC West teams, who do they have Broncos have the best chance of sweeping? It has to be the Raiders because they're the worst team. I know the Broncos seem to have a pretty good, for some reason, they keep beating up on not beating up, but they always have one game where they beat up on the Chargers. But I think going up against the worst team in the division probably gives you the best chance. So I'd have to go with Raiders.
Right. Well, and I don't think they have the greatest home field advantage either. Like Las Vegas has a lot of Raiders fans, but it's still a tourist destination. So you're going to still see a decent chunk of fans. And the Chargers don't have great fan base either. So
no,
I can't be saying too much there, but I still think going into Las Vegas, the Broncos have a really good chance of coming away with the victory there.
Yeah. 100%. Divine Comedy. Seahawks running backs are underrated. Run defense of the Broncos better be a whole lot better than in preseason. Running backs are good. I'm not really impressed with the run blocking of the Seahawks offensive line. They got Charles Cross at left tackle round 1, who was coming along, but his biggest question was run blocking coming in. Interior offensive line was not great last year. And right tackle, we really liked Abraham Lucas coming out of Washington State, but another guy with questionable run blocking, playing so much air raid. And Rashad Penny had an ankle injury, missed a lot of training camp preseason, had the sick bug recently as well, so missed some time. And Kenneth Walker's questionable for week 1 because of a hernia. So talented running back room on paper, but they're a bit dinged up there. So want to watch out for that. And again, I think it's more about the offensive line than it is the actual running backs in the room. But yeah, Rashad Penny was killer last year. Just curious how healthy he's going to be. And speaking about health, Nathan kind of leading us here. Carl, you had some news here on Jonas Griffith.
Yeah, he was back at practice today, and that's huge for the Broncos. It looks like he is on course to probably start week 1 for the Broncos. And
amazing.
Yeah, we were hearing that he was having an incredible offseason. One of the biggest talking points of the Broncos. And, I'd say there's maybe about 2 or 3 players that everybody was just talking about, like, oh, you got to watch this guy. He's going to have a breakout season. Jonas Griffith was right at the top of that list.
Yeah.
And so getting that athleticism back, I've seen Divine Comedy's been talking about he must be a Seahawks fan here, but talking about, if Brooks came to the Broncos, he'd be linebacker one. No, I still think Jewell, because he has an overall game. Brooks was kind of all over the place last year, hit and miss. And Jonas Griffith, I mean, he brings a lot to the table that I think could really surprise a lot of people this year. When we're talking about that run defense, how they're going to hold up, Jonas Griffith with that athleticism, shooting the gap, getting some plays in the backfield, that's going to be huge for the Broncos.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kenneth Walker's the type of running back that would scare me for the Broncos because of how physical he is. Rashad Penny's a little bit more of a slasher, upright run style and explosive guy, but with the Broncos' lack of size in their front seven, the way that Kenneth Walker runs would have scared me. But if he's dealing with that hernia injury and missing time as a rookie as well, that's something that I guess I'm going to be discounting him a tad in this game. I was a huge Kenneth Walker fan in the draft last year. I was even like, if Kenneth Walker's there at pick 64 for the Broncos when they had pick 64, or they still kept it, but if Kenneth Walker's there, I wouldn't even be upset them taking him. That was before they signed Melvin Gordon as well, but big fan of him. But it sounds like he's going to be dinged up and is questionable for the game and having missed time as well. Right. Kyle Olson coming in says Chris Sims said the Broncos will win 6 or 7 games this year. Still bitter. Well, he has some pretty good takes on the quarterback draft, but overall, we'll see how that plays out for him. Michael Crabtree, no, don't go getting your chain snatched, buddy. Coming in saying Broncos got to come out explosive out of the start and score. Let's go Broncos country. Obviously, it'd be great if the Broncos scored out of the front, and I think Brooks is probably better than Josie Jewell just because of the athleticism. Carl, they're different players. Josie's probably higher floor, but Brooks is really good. Texas Tech, I believe.
Yep.
I still don't think the Seahawks run defense, though, is that great. I think the Broncos got a chance to come in and kind of punch them and be physical with them out the gate. Also, the Seahawks are undergoing a transition defensively, scheme-wise, from that heavy cover 3 look that everybody thinks of with the Legion of Boom to more of the Vic Fangio 2 high safeties pre-snap and lighter boxes. And I just don't know if they have the horses across the defensive front 7, front 6, whatever you want to call it, to do that early on. So we'll see. Pete Carroll's a good coach. He's been a good coach, though. So, and he's turned around of multiple teams. So we'll see how it plays out for them. And US Dave saying we need to win fast and then build momentum from the for the tougher stretch. Luckily for the Broncos early on, they have a little bit easier schedule because that back half is going to be brutal. They just really need to stay healthy. We've already suffered our one big injury. I don't know if we have room for many more key contributors to go down.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and you look at those other teams, they got to stay healthy too. So it's going to be interesting to see who are the healthy teams at the end of the year. Because Chargers, I mean, everybody always starts off pretty much every year saying, oh, look at this roster. It's so great. And then they lose like 5 starters in the first 2 weeks. And then everybody goes, oh, okay, they're done. And so we'll see if they can stay healthy. Chiefs, obviously, it's really coming down to they've got like 2 or 3 main players on that defense. If any of them go down, that defense could really turn out bad. If Chris Jones goes down again this year, I don't know. It's going to get ugly for them. They don't have quite the depth that they've had in years past to make up for some of that. So we'll see with them as well. And Raiders, if one of their top 5 players goes down, they're in trouble. They're a very top-heavy roster this year.
Well, that's what happens when you have like 0 first-round picks on your roster anymore, other than Colton Miller, who's been solid for him. Yep. Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, good evening, Nick and Carl. I'm building the Broncos country. Let's ride. And absolutely also love I don't know if Divine is a Seahawks fan, maybe just a football fan, coming in saying the Seahawks pass rush is bad. Best pass rush is a safety. I like Boye Mafe a lot for them, but he's a rookie, right? We'll see how he plays. And he's not even a top 10, like lottery style pick rookie as well. So some more news here for the Denver Broncos in this game. We have an announcement on the captains today. So the Broncos announced 5 captains for the week 1 game. And it's a lot of the usual suspects, people who you'd expect to do it. So obviously you have Russell Wilson being named a captain. There's a shocker of the year for everybody out there. You have Bradley Chubb, captain as well. Number 55 there at the edge rushing spot. Cortland Sutton named a captain, wearing that obviously number 14. He was a captain last year, I believe, as well. Brandon McManus being a captain for the Broncos in this this matchup. And then, of course, finally you have number 31, the guy who's been Mr. Bronco here for the last three seasons, I would say, in Justin Simmons, who is definitely the captain of the defense. So initial impressions here, Scott.
Carl.
God,
Yeah.
I do so many shows with Scott.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much a no duh.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of any other player that I'm going, oh man, they should have been the guy. I can't. Those are really your top 5 guys that have really shown not only are they great players, but they bring leadership to the table. Courtland Sutton has been leading that wide receiver room for quite a few years. I mean, I know some people were talking about Emmanuel Sanders a couple weeks ago on the show of, hey, we should bring him in after the Tim Patrick injury. And it'd be interesting to see Courtland Sutton and Emmanuel Sanders in the same wide receiver room again after they had that fight. You know, I mean, actual fists were being thrown at each other because Courtland Sutton called him out and said, dude, stop jogging. We got to run. We got things to do. And so you got to love Courtland Sutton. That guy, he's got one gear, and that's high. He wants to go. And so then on defense, I guess you could argue Bradley Chubb. You know, he hasn't really proven himself that great player on the field consistently. But at the same time, you know, that was one of the great things coming out of college. A lot of people talked about. He's got leadership qualities on top of being a great player. And, you know, he's been healthy this entire offseason. And it sounds like he has worked his tail off, and he's pushed a lot of players to work their tail off. So I think definitely should be, and he is one of the captains of the team.
Yeah. He's the one where it's maybe the biggest question mark for me. Bradley Chubb, that is. Obviously, it's his 5th year in the league, and captain doesn't mean your best players. We're not just listing the top 5 players in Madden rankings or something. But so definitely makes sense to have Bradley Chubb out there from that respect. Also, ever since the Broncos drafted Bradley Chubb, he's been a adult in the room. Now, I do worry sometimes about the excessive celebrating / taunting / aggressiveness. I feel like he does have more of a tendency to do that sometimes. And if your captain is getting a 15-yard personal foul, that's a bad look. But same time, you need to have that dog on the defense. So you just got to pick and choose your battles. Any thoughts on Surtain being not passed over, but, you know, just an option here instead of a Bradley Chubb? Because I think there's no way in heck you can't have Justin Simmons. I think Justin Simmons, no doubt.
Yeah, that's an easy one. That's probably actually, I'd almost put him over Russell Wilson at this point, just because he's been in the building longer, knows the teammates. He's been with a lot of these guys for 3, 4, 5, 6 years kind of thing. So, Surtain just isn't quite that boisterous leader that you kind of picture.
No.
I don't know if you watched the behind the scenes the Broncos did recently from training camp, and like he and Justin Simmons were watching film. And like you could tell Surtain was like uncomfortable being in front of the camera. I'm not saying that's what brings out the leadership, but you could just tell like he's not that big voice. He's not going to be the guy that's going up to people saying, "Hey, I need you doing this, 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 and this." He's more of a, I'm going to do my job well and be the example to show you how hard I'm willing to work. You know, he does it by his actions more so than his words. At least that's what I can see. You know, maybe I'm wrong on that, but and like I said, and then being a second-year player, it's kind of hard to get that captaincy unless you're a quarterback in that second year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, I don't know if it's a rule that you have to have everybody from the phases, all 3 phases being a captain or not. That might be a rule, because I seem to remember like David Bruton and like a long snapper in the past, like being captains, when it's like, you guys are, I mean, you're good players, but captains compared to the team, but special teams, the captain in that unit. So maybe that's a rule out there. But Brandon McManus being a captain again, your thoughts on that? Obviously, if you have to pick a special teamer, it's going to be him, but he's still your kicker.
Yeah. I mean, he's the longest tenured player on the team now with Von Miller gone. And so he knows the building in and out. And they were actually asking him, he did a great job the other day in an interview. They asked him, you know, what does this team need? Like, what's going to take for them to take that next step? And he said, well, I think we've got a great energy. We've got a better attitude in the building than we've had in the years past. And he said, but I need to see what happens when we get kicked in the teeth. Like what happens when things are not going well for this team? Are we going to go back to our old ways? Or are we going to, you know, fight through this together? He said, that's when I'll know what our team is. And I thought, man, that's really good. I like that. And so he's a well-spoken guy, and I think he's well-liked in the locker room. I mean, he's kind of the goofball. Now, how well that translates to being great as a leader? You know, is he one of those voices that can step up and really get the team excited? I don't know, because I know he's had his times in the past where like he and Vic Fangio hated each other. It
Yeah.
was pretty easy to see. Like there's times he's looking down the sideline, just staring the guy down, like, let me kick the football. And Vic Fangio would say, no, we're good. So I mean, that was part of Vic Fangio, but Brandon McManus could have probably handled some of those situations a little better too. So, but no, I still think if you're going to have a special teams guy, he's got to be it for you.
Oh, God. I can't believe I was saying McManus. Yes. Quit snickering at me, US Dave. That's how we say it in Iowa. No, but McManus. Yes. Anybody else here that's a little bit surprising? I guess I do have one that was maybe somewhat surprising here. Cortland Sutton, I think, is a great player, but he's coming off the injury and a injury 2 years ago now. But since the injury, he's not shown like he did prior to the injury. The flashes is year 2, entering year 5 now. He did get the contract, but you also have Garrett Bowles out there who at least seems to be a emotional, vocal leader when it comes to my perspective of the team as well. So, do you think there was an argument there for Garrett Bowles over
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton?
Yeah. He's been a great voice for the team for a long time. Uh, you know, he's kind of one of those rough around the edges kind of guy, but you like that in your tackle.
Yeah.
Like I want that. I want a little bit of that kind of rough and tumble kind of guy. So
Clean technique, though.
he does. Yeah.
You want clean technique.
Right. But
Yeah.
but no, I think there's an argument that he could have been in because he's probably been the more consistent of those two of the
Yeah.
last few years, at least talent wise. But like I said, I think Cortland Sutton is just really well respected in that locker room.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I don't know if you can hear that, but I think the ice cream truck is going by outside. It's really loud. But yeah, no, man, we need to end the show. I need to get some ice cream. No. Yeah. So Broncos captains there. You guys let us know if anybody that the Broncos surpassed, anybody that they should have gone with instead. If anybody else we didn't talk about, I mean, they keep talking about Josie Jewell being a coach on the field. Maybe if the Broncos defense wasn't so star-studded or whatever, maybe he'd have an option as well. And I see Scott in the chat talking about Draymond Jones getting a chance as well. I think Draymond is maybe a little bit less leader and more kind of in his own maniacal craft sometimes as well. Maybe that's fine. He's scary, man. Him and Coach Stukes, little scary dudes. But Chubb, Justin Simmons, Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton, and of course Brandon McManus in there for the Broncos captains week 1, and we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, it's week to week. Have you heard anything about the Broncos changing captains throughout the year?
I haven't, and I can't see them changing any of those out unless one of them gets hurt.
Yeah. Definitely possible. Or yeah, miss some time, suspension. Who knows? Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, I'm thinking Patrick Surtain gets 2 picks against Seattle. Question is, are they going to throw the ball that much in Patrick Surtain's direction? He was kind of erasing guys last year. The Broncos. Did you know the Broncos played the second most man coverage in football last season with Vic Fangio? It's
Wow.
pretty surprising. I think a lot of it has to do with how terrible the pass rush was.
Yeah.
He had to trust in your coverage a little bit more. But Patrick Surtain getting 2 picks. The question is he going to even get targeted 2 times?
Well, I'd say if he covers Metcalf the entire game, like if he actually follows him across the field, I think then you're going to see him get quite a few targets because I know Geno Smith, that's his comfort guy. Like last year when he played his few games, Metcalf was his guy that he was just going to over and over and over again, even when he was covered. So I could see that being the one time that Surtain could actually get some chances. I'm not sure if they're going to actually have him follow him though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. And I see some calls for Kareem Jackson as well. Jamie saying Kareem Jackson, good leader. Could have been a good one. Yeah, Kareem Jackson, definitely another scary dude out there. We got Clayton coming in here. Not so scary. Not anymore. Now that Clayton's come. Saying, evening, guys. Smash that like button on the way in. We appreciate you guys. And Rodney Garcia saying, who's going to cover Lockett? This is not just directed at you, Carl, but the shadow cornerback is a myth in the year 2022. Teams just don't do that anymore.
Right.
Most of these guys, their specific has to do with more of the rolling of the coverage and the safeties to a certain side of the field and weak versus strong side versus anything else. You don't really see the cornerback that's following singular guys around him anymore because just the coverages are more complex pre-snap, post-snap than they have been before. So I don't think you're going to see Metcalf being shadowed by Surtain. It's going to be more one side of the field versus help. And who's going to cover Lockett? God, that's a good question. I Guess it's going to be Darby, a little smaller, twitchier, and whatnot for the most part, but it's going to depend on how they're going to utilize Lockett as well. And another one, who's going to cover Fant? I mean, people have been screaming about the Broncos' issues with covering linebackers for years. They're pretty good at it last season, ironically, given the decimated linebacker group. But Seahawks have some pass catchers on the outside with big athletic potential.
Yeah. I mean, their entire season is going to come down to, can the quarterback actually take advantage of those weapons?
Yeah.
We've seen it here in Denver. Broncos have had great weapons here for quite a few years, just hadn't had the quarterback to actually do anything with them. I think of that. I think it was it the Chiefs game where Keenum overthrew DT wide open for the winning touchdown, and he had that double move up the sideline and just missed him by a couple yards. And you're just kind of going, oh, if we just had a quarterback that could make that throw, we're obviously not losing to the Chiefs every single year for the last 7 years. And having to listen to these Chiefs fans, because I live in Chiefs Nation or whatever you want to call it. I haven't heard the end of it for a long time. So yeah. I need the Broncos to win that game. Like, I want the Broncos to win a Super Bowl, but like number 2 behind that is beat the Chiefs for me.
Win the AFC West. That's first goal. After that, we'll see how it falls. Clayton coming in saying, do you think the Broncos rush for over 100 yards in the game versus Seattle? I do. I think they're going to rush for over 100 yards, and it's going to be with Gordon and Williams as the 2 main running backs. I really like Boone. I know that Scott has made a good point of how much the Broncos are paying their 3rd string running back and how much value you're actually getting from that. If you lose one of those running backs, Boone's going to step in. I think going to be very good for you there as well. Maybe they'll find a role for him. I mean, he's different than Gordon and Williams as well, stylistically. But I think the Broncos, Williams and Gordon, one of the top 4 running back duos in football this season.
Yep.
And probably the Broncos' best positional group.
Yeah. And I think they're going to lean into the run game pretty heavy early on.
Yep.
Give Wilson and those outside weapons a chance to kind of build some chemistry as they go, but really lean into that run game to carry him through these first few games.
Yep. And what's the first play? A run or bomb? I think the first play will be an RPO. So it could go either way, baby. No, who knows? We also got a comment coming in here from Scott Rolfe over on Facebook saying, as long as we give our bell cow Javonte Williams at least 70% of the carries and only use Gordon on 3rd downs and passing situations, is what they do, the backfield will be more dangerous than Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry. What do you think about this, Scott? God, did it again. Oh, man, bad Nick. Using 70% and 30% for the Broncos running back splits.
I could see by the end of the season, when Javonte's really catching on and getting into a groove, you could maybe see that 70-30 split. But early on, Broncos are not going to want that for Javonte. Like, part of why you bring Melvin Gordon back is because you want to be able to save Javonte for when it matters most. And so I think early on, you're going to see probably closer to that 50-50 split. I'd say at least for the first about 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And then you're going to start to see it slowly going in a different direction. I mean, they want Javonte to be number 1. But again, you want him at his best in December and January. You don't need to be using him up here in September. So, and Gordon, he's still a good running back. Like, he still rushed for almost 1,000 yards last year. And other than the fumbles, does well of getting into those touchdowns. He's a great receiver, like I said, 3rd down player. He's a great blocker as well, whenever you need him to step in there for pass blocking. So, he still has a big role with this team. Like, you brought him back because he can be productive for you.
Yeah, 100%. And comments on that. But first, Andrew Baker coming in saying, sup, Nick, Carl, and Scott and fam. Hackett won't show us cards right away, but the RPO is going to be a lot of his scheme. It's really hard to say. Packers did a little bit of everything with Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. And Hackett's done a bit of everything also, from the Blake Bortles-led Jacksonville Jaguars to what they showed with the Packers. They keep talking about this new offense and doing what Russell Wilson wants to do. So we don't know what that's going to look like. I know that Russell Wilson wants to run a lot of empty sets, but unfortunately, he's like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL with empty sets. So we'll see what he wants. It also sounds like Russell Wilson's going to have veto power, being the main guy. What he wants to run work. So could be a little bit of a feeling out process early on for this offense, kind of get what works there. We know Russell Wilson can do the ad lib, breakdown plays, explosive plays there. How do the layups look? How do the hitting for singles, the base on balls, the easy stuff? Because that's sometimes been an issue, and you got to be able to hit those gimmies. And I don't know how they're manufacturing that with this offense. I would guess a lot of RPOs or quick outs, part of the game, but the slants, the over routes, given Russell Wilson's historical target distribution in the field, maybe not as much there. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting to see, no doubt. As far as the running backs go, just look no farther than last year with the Packers using A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, 171 carries. A.J. Dillon, 187 carries in the pass game, too. Aaron Jones, 52 receptions. A.J. Dillon, 34 receptions. Plenty of touches to go around. And if you have two good running backs, use them. The key is maximizing efficiency. It's not a volume discussion. It's an efficiency discussion for the run game. So I don't care if it's 50-50. I don't care if it's 60-40. You want to make sure that these guys are being efficient and protecting them for the long run.
Right. And like I said, I just want to save Javonte as long as I can. And just from listening to people talk about training camp, Javonte was having a little trouble picking up this zone scheme, just a little bit. I'm not saying that he's going to struggle or that he's going to be terrible here at the beginning of the year or that Melvin Gordon should be the starter. I'm just saying, he's a second year back, learning a new system. It just takes a little bit to get the feel of that. And they didn't really do anything in the preseason, so he didn't get a chance to kind of get some of that. It's just going to take a little bit for some of that to get going. And so you might lean into the veteran just a little bit more because he can hit the ground running just a little bit more. So I don't think anybody should hit the panic button on Javonte if that happens.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Two good running backs. Be happy to use both of them. Hopefully not on the field at the same time because that means tight ends and wide receivers are not playing that well. Mike Hansen coming in saying Upper Wyoming says hi. Hello to Upper Wyoming. Last home game I was able to go to, Peyton Manning tore apart the New Orleans Saints. Let's ride. That was I remember that game. Hell of a game. A lot of fun. Good to have you in here, Mike. We appreciate you. Tim saying Nick's drinking his coffee tonight. No coffee, just good vibes. Living on good vibes. 100%. KB82 talking about Kenneth Booker, of course, saying, will you guys be at the meet and greet? I shall not be, but Carl shall be with a lot of other Mile High Huddle. Carl, can you talk about the meet and greet for a second?
Yeah, so it's going to be the San Francisco game, the third game of the year, and it's a Sunday night game. That's why I can actually be there since I work on Sundays. And so, anybody, we're going to have a little bit of time before the game out there in the parking lot, do a little meet and greet time. Everybody come. We'll have a great time, some food, some drinks, shake hands, talk football, all the great stuff, and then head into the game. That's the great thing is then you get to go watch a Broncos game together. And so anybody that's in Denver going to be at that game, please come on by. We'll get more information of where we're going to be at in the parking lot. I haven't got that information yet. I don't know if Chad's put it out there yet or not. But yeah, definitely, like I said, if you get a chance, we'd love to come see you guys. And it's always great seeing you here, but I'd love to have that conversation face to face with you guys.
Yeah, be a lot of fun. You guys will be shocked how short Carl is. No, just kidding. 5'9", 5'10". Just gonna give you a hard time. That's better for backpacking, so that's no worries there. That's why you see like little sixth graders just flying up the mountain, carrying less weight. Lucky sons of guns. But we also got a question coming in here from Rodney asking about what's the status on Greg Dulcich. Greg Dulcich is on the short-term IR. He's been dealing with an injury. I think there was like 1 week of training camp or OTAs where he was out there, then suffered a setback. And I'm going to be honest, guys, anything that you get from Dulcich at all this season is going to be a bonus for me. I've pretty much considered this season a redshirt year. I don't even know if we're going to see him be effective at all. It typically takes 3 years for top 40 overall picks at the tight end to start contributing because they have to learn the wide receiver route tree, the nuance of the wide receiver, and then the tight end, the blocking scheme as well. Dulcich coming from a Chip Kelly UCLA team. I mean, it was already going to take a long time if that's assuming he's 100% healthy, not missing OTAs, not missing training camp. Now he's injured, missing short-term IR. I don't know, man. I think he could have a small package. They could have a small usage for him this season. But
yeah.
Sorry, Dulcich. But I'm already discounting him, and anything we get from him, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised if they get anything at all.
Right. Well, and it's got to make you a little nervous about this tight end room. Alberto is dealing with an injury as well right now. He's missed some practice time. I'm sure he'll be ready for Monday night's game, but he's been having some injury concerns throughout his career in the NFL. Then you got Tomlinson behind him, that more of a blocking guy for you. Saubert, he's a backup tight end. You don't want him to have to be your starter. So, like I said, the tight end room, it's going downhill quickly. I mean, thankfully the Broncos, I don't think that was a huge part of their game plan was tight ends being a part of this passing attack, but you still like to have that threat. And so hopefully Alberto can get healthy and we don't have to worry about him. But I would love to have Dulcich back, going to 100%. And like I said, if you can get anything from him this year, you feel pretty good.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but the reality of it. Dulcich's small package this season, brought to you by Manscaped. I'm not going to put that on him. He's got beautiful hair. He's a gorgeous looking human being, and he's got a tight end. So we're just leaning all the way in there. But guys, speaking of leaning in, we got to start leaning out. 50 minutes. We're supposed to try to keep this at about 45. So if you have any other thoughts and questions before we do, last topic of conversation though, Broncos do release / waive UD undrafted free agent darling Brendan Johnson today with an injury settlement. I believe it was a 3-week injury settlement, and that means then the Broncos cannot sign him back until the same amount of times as long as the injury settlement was. So it's a 3-week injury settlement. That means Broncos couldn't bring him back until after week 6. I think that's how it works. It's really confusing, but that's my understanding.
Can another team sign him after that 3 weeks?
I think another team can sign him right away.
Okay.
Technically, I think. I don't know though. It's a confusing procedural there for the Broncos, but I think definitely another team can sign him. But I don't know I think the Broncos have to hold out.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, and that stinks because he was having a great training camp, great preseason, looking like a guy that's going to make this 53-man roster, and suffers that high ankle sprain right there at the end. It just terrible timing for a guy that really had earned a roster spot.
Okay. And I had some specific wrong. He cannot re-sign with the team until 3 weeks after it. So it's just kind of happened that the Broncos were, it was a 3-week injury settlement. But like, let's say it was a 9-week injury settlement, couldn't sign him then until after week 12. So is what it is. Carl, any thoughts before we get on out of here? I guess this is your last chance before the Seahawks game. So we got to get you your thoughts on the game and your prediction on the score.
Yeah, I think this is a great one for the Broncos to start off. You got some great matchups. Broncos secondary against these weapons here for the Seahawks. That's going to be a huge for us to be able to see. I'm excited for that all 22. I don't expect Geno Smith to take advantage of all the times that they might be open, but just to have Patrick Surtain going against some of these guys, getting to see how much he's advanced in year 2, that's going to be great. And then I want to see the starting offensive line. We haven't got a chance to actually see them. Billy Turner's been hurt, so you haven't even seen him at training camp hardly at all. So getting these 5 guys on the field, how long is it going to take them to get going? Are they going to have that chemistry, by week 3, week 4, or is it going to have to take half a season before they get going? That's going to be a big determining factor of how they do for this first half of this season. So, but overall, I think Broncos come away with a victory. I think it's going to be not as big a victory as some people would hope. Like, I'm going to go 24-17 is the score I'm going to pick. I think Broncos will go into the fourth quarter actually with a decent lead, 21-10 kind of thing, and then Seahawks get a late touchdown to make it look a little bit closer. But I don't expect this offense to be clicking right away.
Yeah.
I know everybody wants to have that explosive offense. Let's just score every single time, and it's going to be great. It's just going to take its time. You look at Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Bucks. It took them about 8 weeks actually before they really started clicking.
Yeah.
Well, I think Matthew Stafford with the Rams, they started out pretty good, but they had kind of their ups and downs with that offense to start off with too. So like I said, I hope people kind of have a little bit of a little bit of patience with this to understand it's just going to take a little bit of time to get it all working well.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a good game. So you heard it here, guys. 27-16, you said?
24-17.
24-17. If it's not that, I'll give you guys Carl's Venmo. So that way you can request from him when you blow your bets. But we appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for joining us today. Obviously, you can find Carl and I on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler MHH, and I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BTB Football Pod. That's Building the Broncos Football Pod, BTB Football Pod, and at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you're joining our Facebook community at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And with the season just right around the corner, make sure you guys are going to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to these podcasts. Find the rate and review section, give us a 5-star rating, and leave us a review. It really does help us a lot. There's a lot of good Broncos contributors in this space. It's a saturated market, but we like to think we're doing things a little bit differently, a little bit better, and with a different take, our own originality on here. So we would appreciate it if you guys would do that. And of course, as the ticker says underneath, if you've joined us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share, and click that bell icon so that way you know when we go live. Carl, what's the rest of your night looking like?
Well, got a run ahead of me, probably only about 3 or 4 mile tonight.
Okay.
So it's been, I injured my leg about 2 weeks ago, so it's been a little bit of slow coming back from it, but otherwise maybe gonna write an article. Got some things cooking for Mile High Huddle and need to get that in. Kids are going to bed, so I can get a little time on the keyboard, and so hopefully by tomorrow you guys will have an article coming out from me.
Awesome. Well, guys, we really appreciate you. Shout out to Scott working the 1s and 2s in the background. Scott and I will be live again tomorrow morning for Forging the Falcons. If you guys are hanging out in the morning and want to come talk some NFC East football. And it should be Luke and I tomorrow night on Mile High Insiders. Luke should be back. It's been a little bit of I'm going to be there, I'm not going to be there. He's obviously coming off the shoulder injury from his bike spill. So I was sending good vibes to Luke. Hope he's feeling better, and maybe we'll see him tonight. If not, we'll hold down the fort there. So Luke, hope you're feeling better, buddy. And we hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. And until then, make sure you're choosing kindness and choosing compassion. Go Broncos.